My name is Tanner, and 6 months ago, I thought I understood my relationship with my boss, Casey Martinez, perfectly. I was a senior marketing coordinator at Meridian Creative, a mid-sized advertising agency in downtown Seattle. And Casey was the creative director who'd hired me 2 years earlier. Our working relationship was professional, productive, and built on mutual respect for each other's skills and work ethic. Casey was 34, I was 29, and we'd developed the kind of efficient collaboration that made complex projects feel manageable. He was brilliant at conceptual development and client relations. I excelled at execution and project management, and together we'd built a reputation for delivering innovative campaigns that consistently exceeded client expectations. What I hadn't expected was for a routine client dinner to reveal feelings that would completely transform our professional dynamic and personal lives. The evening that changed everything started as a standard business obligation. Meridian Creative had been courting Harrison Industries, a major automotive client, for 6 months, and Casey had finally secured a dinner meeting with their CEO and marketing team to present our campaign proposal for their new electric vehicle launch. "Tanner," Casey said that afternoon, as we prepared materials for the presentation, "I need you at this dinner tonight. Harrison's team will have detailed questions about implementation and timeline, and you know those aspects better than anyone." "Of course. What's the client like? Any particular approach we should take?" Marcus Harrison is old-school corporate, big on relationship building and traditional business entertainment. He's also known for appreciating people who can keep up with him socially, which usually means several rounds of drinks and late-night discussions. "Understood. I'll pace myself and focus on being professional but personable." "Good. Tanner, this account could be transformational for the agency. If we land Harrison Industries, we're looking at a 3-year contract worth over $2 million. The dinner was held at Metropolitan Grill, an upscale steakhouse downtown that was popular for high-level business entertainment. Casey and I arrived early to review our presentation materials and prepare for what we knew would be a lengthy evening of relationship building. "You clean up well," Casey said, as we waited for the Harrison team to arrive. He was wearing a charcoal suit that emphasized his lean build and dark features, and I had to admit that seeing him in formal business attire reminded me that he was an attractive man, as well as a skilled colleague. "Thanks. You look pretty sharp yourself." Casey had always been professional in his appearance, but tonight he'd clearly made extra effort to impress the client. His hair was perfectly styled, his suit was obviously expensive, and he carried himself with the confident authority that made him effective in client relations. "Tanner, I want you to know that I really appreciate you being here tonight. These dinners can be challenging, and having someone I trust to handle the technical questions makes a huge difference." "I'm happy to help. Casey, you've been a great boss and mentor. Supporting important client meetings is part of my job." The Harrison Industries team arrived 30 minutes later, and the evening immediately took on the formal but friendly tone that characterized high-stakes business entertainment. Marcus Harrison was exactly as Casey had described: charismatic, old-fashioned in his business approach, and clearly someone who believed that personal relationships were as important as professional competence. "Casey, Tanner," Marcus said as we were seated at a private table, "I've heard excellent things about Meridian Creative's work. I'm looking forward to seeing what you've developed for our EV campaign." "We're excited to share our concepts with you," Casey replied. "But first, let's enjoy dinner and get to know each other better. Business always goes more smoothly when there's genuine personal connection." What followed was 3 hours of carefully orchestrated relationship building that involved multiple courses, several bottles of wine, and the kind of strategic socializing that was essential for landing major accounts. Casey was in his element, charming and knowledgeable, building rapport with the Harrison team while subtly demonstrating Meridian's creative capabilities. "This campaign concept is exactly what we need," Marcus said after Casey presented our proposal. "Fresh, innovative, but still grounded in solid marketing fundamental. I'm impressed." "Thank you. Tanner deserves significant credit for the implementation strategy and timeline development." "Excellent work, both of you. I think Harrison Industries and Meridian Creative are going to have a very successful partnership." The evening was clearly going well, and I could see Casey's relief and excitement as it became apparent that we were likely to secure the account. But I also noticed that he was drinking more than usual, matching Marcus drink for drink, in what appeared to be part of the relationship-building process. "Casey," I said quietly during a break in conversation, "maybe slow down on the wine? You've had quite a bit." "I'm fine, Tanner. This is how these dinners work. You drink with the client, you build trust, you close the deal." "I understand, but you don't want to overdo it." "I can handle my alcohol. Besides, Marcus is clearly enjoying the social aspects of this meeting." As the evening continued, Casey's consumption increased, and while he remained articulate and professional, I could see that the alcohol was affecting his judgment and coordination. By the time we'd finished dessert and closed the business discussion, Casey was clearly intoxicated. "Gentlemen," Marcus said as we prepared to leave, "this has been a wonderful evening. I'll have my team prepare the contracts, and we should be able to move forward within the week." "That's fantastic news," Casey said, his words slightly slurred, but his enthusiasm genuine. "We're going to do incredible work together." After the Harrison team left, I found myself responsible for getting Casey safely home. He was in no condition to drive, and while he wasn't falling down drunk, he was clearly impaired enough that I was concerned about his ability to navigate public transportation. "Casey, let me drive you home. You can get your car tomorrow." "I'm fine, Tanner. I can take a cab." "You're not fine, and I'm not leaving you to figure out transportation while you're this drunk. Give me your keys." Casey handed over his car keys without further protest, and I helped him into the passenger seat of his BMW before programming his home address into the GPS. I'd never been to Casey's apartment, though I knew he lived in a high-rise in Belltown that was walking distance from the office. "Tanner," Casey said as I drove through downtown Seattle, "you're a good employee, one of the best I've ever worked with." "Thank you. I enjoy working for you too." "No, I mean it. You're intelligent, dedicated, creative, reliable. You make my job easier and the work better." "I appreciate that, Casey. You've been an excellent boss and mentor." "But that's not all you are." "What do you mean?" Casey was quiet for a moment, staring out the passenger window at the city lights passing by. "Nothing. Forget I said anything." We reached Casey's building, and I helped him navigate through the lobby and up to his apartment on the 23rd floor. His home was exactly what I'd expected. Modern, well-designed, with expensive furniture and a view of Elliott Bay that was probably worth half his rent. "Okay," I said as Casey settled onto his couch. "You're home safe. Do you need anything before I go? Water, food, aspirin for tomorrow's hangover?" "Don't go yet." "Casey, you need to sleep this off. I should head home and let you rest." "Tanner, sit down. Please, I need to tell you something." Something in Casey's tone made me pause. He was drunk, yes, but there was also an urgency in his voice that suggested he had something important. Concerned. "What is it?" "Serious. Sit down first." I sat in the chair across from Casey's couch, concerned about what he might want to discuss while intoxicated. Cautious. Casey, maybe we should have this conversation when you're sober. Softly. Alcohol isn't the best time for important discussions. Resolute. If I wait until I'm sober, I'll lose my nerve. Puzzled. Lose your nerve for what? Casey looked at me with an expression that was part alcohol-induced confidence and part genuine vulnerability. Vulnerable. Tanner, I need to tell you that you're more than just a good employee to me. Confused. What do you mean? Emotional. I mean that somewhere over the past 2 years, my feelings for you have become much more personal than professional. I stared at Casey, trying to process what he was saying. My boss, my mentor, the person I worked with every day, was telling me that he had romantic feelings for me. Disbelieving. Casey, you're drunk. You might not mean what you're saying. Assertive. I'm drunk, but I mean every word. Sincere. Tanner, I've been in love with you for months, and watching you tonight, seeing how competent and professional you were with the Harrison team, it made me realize that I can't keep pretending these feelings don't exist. Shocked. In love with me? Passionate. Completely in love with you. Sincere. The way you handle complex projects, the way you support my work, the way you make everything about the office better just by being there. But it's more than professional admiration. Overwhelmed. Casey. Urgent. Let me finish, because I might not have the courage to say this when I'm sober. Heartfelt. Tanner. You're intelligent and creative and incredibly attractive. You have this quiet confidence that I find absolutely compelling. When you concentrate on something difficult, when you smile at one of my terrible jokes, when you stay late to help with a project, all of it makes me want to be more than just your boss. I was completely unprepared for Casey's confession. He was my supervisor, someone I respected professionally, and the idea that he had romantic feelings for me was both flattering and concerning. Dismissive. Casey, I think the alcohol is making you more emotional than usual. Concerned. Maybe we should discuss this when you're feeling better. Assertive. The alcohol is making me honest, not emotional. Deeply emotional. Tanner, I've been thinking about you in ways that go far beyond professional appreciation for months. Tonight, seeing you handle the client relationship so skillfully, being proud of your competence, it made me realize that what I feel for you is much deeper than workplace admiration. Overwhelmed. What are you saying? I'm saying that I love you, not as an employee, not as a colleague, but as a person I want to be with romantically. Casey's confession was delivered with a kind of drunken honesty that was both compelling and concerning. He clearly meant what he was saying. But I wasn't sure how much of his openness was due to alcohol and how much represented his actual feelings. Casey, this is complicated. You're my boss, we work together every day, and you're currently drunk. These aren't ideal circumstances for this kind of conversation. I know it's complicated. I know there are professional considerations and power dynamics that make this inappropriate. But Tanner, I also know that what I feel for you is real, regardless of the complications. And what do you expect me to do with this information? I don't expect anything. I just needed you to know, because keeping it secret has been driving me crazy. Casey leaned forward on his couch, and I could see the sincerity in his expression, despite his obvious intoxication. Tanner, can I ask you something? What? Have you ever noticed anything between us? Any moments when our interaction felt like more than just professional collaboration? The question was uncomfortably perceptive, because there had been moments when I'd wondered whether Casey's attention to my work and career development went beyond normal supervisory interest. Casey, I've always appreciated how supportive you've been of my professional growth. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking whether you've ever felt any personal attraction or connection that goes beyond work. I hesitated, because the honest answer was more complicated than I was comfortable admitting. Sometimes. Sometimes what? Sometimes I've wondered whether the way we work together, the ease of our collaboration, might indicate compatibility that goes beyond professional partnership. Casey's expression brightened with hope and relief. Really? Really. But Casey, wondering about personal compatibility and acting on those feelings are very different things. You're my boss, and workplace relationships between supervisors and employees are complicated for good reasons. What if I wasn't your boss? What do you mean? What if we found a way to change our professional relationship so that personal feelings could be explored without ethical complications? Such as me recommending you for promotion to associate creative director, making us colleagues rather than supervisor and employee. I stared at Casey, surprised by his willingness to consider restructuring our professional relationship to address the personal feelings he'd revealed. Concerned. Casey, you're drunk. You shouldn't be making career-related decisions while intoxicated. Defensive. I'm not making decisions. I'm exploring possibilities. Determined. Tanner, if the only thing preventing us from exploring personal feelings is the workplace hierarchy, that's a problem we can solve. Cautious. And if we explore personal feelings and it doesn't work out, what happens to our professional relationship then? Confident. Then we handle it like adults and maintain the working relationship that's been successful for both of us. Casey was clearly struggling to stay focused, as the alcohol continued to affect his system, but his emotional honesty was undeniable. Serious. Tanner, I need to ask you something else. Inquisitive. What? Vulnerable. If circumstances were different, if we met in some other context, where there weren't professional complications, would you be interested in dating me? The question forced me to confront feelings I'd been carefully avoiding acknowledging. Softly. Yes, I said quietly. Surprised. Really? Sincere. Really. Casey, you're intelligent, successful, creative, and genuinely kind to the people who work for you. You're also attractive and funny, and someone I've enjoyed spending time with, even in professional contexts. Anticipatory. But, resigned. But the professional context matters. Conflicted. I can't separate my feelings about you as a person from my relationship with you as my supervisor. Hopeful. What if we could separate those things? What if we could explore personal feelings while maintaining appropriate professional boundaries? Doubtful. I don't know if that's possible. Casey stood up from the couch, swayed slightly, then sat back down. Tired. I think I need some water, he said, and probably some aspirin. Tomorrow is going to be rough. Caring. Let me get you water and help you get settled for the night. We can talk about this more when you're sober. Urgent. Tanner, before you help me get ready for bed, I need to know something. Impatient. What? Direct. Are you completely opposed to the idea of us exploring personal feelings, or are you just concerned about the practical complications? Honest. I'm concerned about the practical complications. But Casey, I'm not opposed to the idea of us as something more than colleagues. Casey's smile was brilliant, even through his obvious intoxication. Satisfied. That's all I needed to know. I helped Casey drink some water, take aspirin, and prepare for bed. He was clearly exhausted from the alcohol and the emotional honesty of our conversation. And by the time I got him settled, he was barely coherent. Grateful. Tanner.
Will you stay here tonight? I don't want to be alone, and I don't want our conversation to end with you leaving.
I looked at Casey, clearly vulnerable and still somewhat intoxicated, and realized that leaving him alone in his current state didn't feel right. I'll stay on your couch. But Casey, we're not doing anything physical tonight. You're drunk, and that wouldn't be appropriate.
I just want you here. Nothing physical, just here.
I settled onto Casey's couch with a blanket and pillow, and within minutes I could hear him sleeping soundly in his bedroom. I lay awake for a long time, thinking about his confession, my own feelings and what it might mean for our professional and personal relationship. The next morning, Casey emerged from his bedroom looking predictably hungover but also embarrassed about the previous evening's emotional revelations. "Tanner," he said as he made coffee with slightly shaking hands, "I owe you an apology for last night." "For what?" "For putting you in an uncomfortable position with my drunken confessions. For making our professional relationship complicated with personal feelings." "Casey, do you remember what you said last night?" "Most of it, unfortunately." "Do you regret saying it?" Casey was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. "I regret the timing and the circumstances. I don't regret the honesty." "So you meant what you said about having feelings for me?" "I meant every word. But Tanner, I also understand if you want to pretend last night never happened and go back to purely professional interactions." "What if I don't want to pretend it never happened?" Casey looked up from his coffee preparation, hope replacing embarrassment in his expression. "What do you mean?" "I mean that your feelings aren't entirely one-sided, and maybe we should figure out how to address that appropriately." "Really?" "Really. Casey, I've been attracted to you for months, but I didn't think it was appropriate to acknowledge those feelings given our professional relationship. And now? Now, I think we should explore options for addressing both our personal feelings and our professional obligations responsibly." Casey's hangover seemed to improve significantly with this conversation.
Such as?
Such as discussing my career trajectory and whether there are opportunities for advancement that would change our supervisory relationship.
I meant what I said about recommending you for promotion to Associate Creative Director. You're ready for that level of responsibility, and it would make us colleagues rather than supervisor and employee. And then we see what develops between us personally while maintaining the professional collaboration that's been successful for both of us. 3 months later, I'd been promoted to Associate Creative Director. Casey and I were officially dating, and our professional partnership had become even more effective now that we could acknowledge our personal feelings. "Any regrets about your drunken confession?" I asked Casey one evening as we cooked dinner together in his apartment, which had become our shared space. About revealing feelings I'd been hiding for months. About completely changing our professional and personal relationship. About falling in love with my employee. Any of it, all of it. Casey pulled me close for a kiss that tasted like wine and honesty. "None," he said, "though I still can't believe it took getting drunk at a client dinner to find the courage to tell you how I felt." Sometimes the truth comes out when we least expect it. And sometimes the best relationships are the ones that start with professional respect and grow into something deeper. Think we'll have good stories to tell people about how we got together? I think we'll have the most unique office romance story anyone's ever heard. As we settled in to enjoy dinner and plan our upcoming weekend together, I marveled at how dramatically my life had changed since that evening when Casey's alcohol-induced honesty had revealed feelings we'd both been hiding. Sometimes the most important conversations happen when we're least prepared for them, and sometimes the best relationships grow out of the courage to be vulnerable about what we really want.